I hated them. The Americans. With their clean uniforms and oblivious smiles, marching into our war as if it were some grand adventure. They knew nothing of our suffering, of the homes we had lost, of the families torn apart. To them, Korea was just another battlefield. To us, it was our world burning. My name is Sergeant Junho Kim. Born in a fishing village near Busan, I've seen too much death at 24. The war took everything me home, my father's boat, possibly my family. This wasn't just a war, it was our survival. I watched with contempt as the American convoy entered our camp. Their uniforms too clean, faces unmarked by suffering. Captain Mitchell stepped out, his confidence deepening my resentment. Lieutenant Park called me over to meet him. This is Captain Mitchell from the U.S. 24th Infantry Division. Our units will be working together. Mitchell extended his hand. Pleased to meet you, Sergeant. I wish I could say the same, I replied, watching his smile fade. Later, Corporal Shin warned me, be careful. The Americans control the supplies. Let them, I growled. We were fighting before they arrived. That afternoon, Mitchell approached as I cleaned my rifle. Your men respect you, he observed. They should. We've been through hell together. My men could learn from your experience. What could privileged Americans learn from Korean soldiers? I asked bitterly. How to stay alive, Mitchell answered. This isn't our country. But we're here to help defend it. You're here because communism scares your government. Korea is just a piece on your chessboard. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., joint patrol, Mitchell ordered before leaving. That night, I made a silent promise. I would tolerate them for the mission, but never trust them. In this war of unwanted allies, my loyalty wasn't with the Americans. The morning patrol began in tense silence. Captain John Anderson, whose name I'd learned during briefing, was 28. A West Point graduate with a decorated father. His earnestness was particularly irritating. Your knowledge of this area is impressive, Anderson said in broken Korean. I kept my eyes ahead. We've been fighting here for over a year. I'd like to learn from your experience, he continued. I glanced at the Americans, uncomfortable in Korea's humid summer. Your men wouldn't survive a week here without us. Anderson didn't take offense. You're probably right. That's why this joint operation makes sense. During our break, Anderson pulled out a photograph of a smiling woman. His sweetheart back home. Another reason he wouldn't fight with our desperation. Later, I watched him help Private Taesung with radio equipment, even sharing his water ration. Why are you trying so hard? I asked that evening. My men don't trust you. Because we're fighting the same enemy, he replied. And it's the right thing to do. I scoffed. When this war ends, you'll go home to Paris. We'll be burying our dead. The next morning, Anderson surprised me by telling his men to respect Korean customs and follow my tactical lead. Sergeant Kim knows this terrain better than any of us, he said firmly. I remained convinced his respect was merely strategic Americans looking out for American interests. His idealism would fade eventually. They all did in this war. The evening patrol along the Nakdong River started routinely enough. 3 days into our joint mission, my men and Anderson's had settled into an uneasy rhythm. The fading light cast long shadows across the valley. As we moved silently through the dense underbrush, the first shot came without warning. Ambush, I shouted, diving for cover behind a fallen tree. North Korean forces, 9 o'clock. Chas erupted instantly. The valley filled with gunfire. the sharp crack of rifles echoing between the hills. Anderson's men reacted quickly, I'll give them that. Much deploying into defensive positions as I'd taught them. I spotted movement in the trees to our right. Flanking position, I called out, pivoting to fire. The recoil of my rifle was familiar, comforting. Even as I squeezed off 3 shots in rapid succession. That's when the bullet hit me. White-hot pain tore through my thigh. I fell hard, my rifle clattering away. Blood soaked through my pants, pulsing with each heartbeat. I gritted my teeth against the scream building in my throat. "Man down!" someone shouted in English. I tried to crawl toward the nearest cover, dragging my useless leg behind me. Each movement sent fresh waves of agony through my body. The enemy fire was intensifying, dirt kicking up inches from my face. They had spotted my vulnerability. Through the haze of pain, I could see North Korean soldiers advancing through the trees. I reached for my sidearm, knowing it was futile. They were too many, too close. In that moment, strangely calm, I thought of my father's weathered face. As he stood on his fishing boat, I would see him soon enough. Through the smoke and gunfire, I glimpsed a figure sprinting toward me. Captain Anderson, abandoning the safety of his cover, was running straight into the kill zone. "What are you doing?" I hissed as he slid beside me. "Get back!" He ignored me, quickly assessing my wound. "Can you walk?" I shook my head, the world spinning from blood loss. Without hesitation, Anderson handed his rifle to a nearby soldier. "Cover us!" Then he crouched, grabbed me, and in one fluid motion hoisted me across his shoulders. "This is suicide," I gasped, the movement sending fresh pain through my leg. "Probably," he grunted and began running. The enemy spotted us immediately. Bullets kicked up dirt around Anderson's feet as he zigzagged toward the ridge. I felt the impact when one struck him, a subtle jerk of his body, a sharp intake of breath, but he didn't slow down. Blood spread across his sleeve from where the bullet had grazed his arm. I couldn't understand it. Why would he risk his life for me, Korean sergeant who had shown him nothing but contempt? Reaching the ridge, Anderson carefully lowered me behind a boulder. His face was pale, sweat-soaked, but determined. He immediately tore open a field dressing and applied pressure to my wound. "You're shot," I said, nodding toward his arm. "Just a scratch," he replied, focused on stopping my bleeding. His hands worked with practiced efficiency, tightening the bandage around my thigh. For the first time since meeting him, I looked at Captain Anderson, really looked at him, and saw neither an idealistic fool nor an arrogant American. I saw a soldier, like me. Night fell over our makeshift camp. The medics had given me morphine for the pain, but sleep remained elusive. From my stretcher, I could see the entire clearing, where we had taken refuge after the ambush. Captain Anderson moved methodically among the wounded. His arm was bandaged now, but he had refused evacuation. I watched as he knelt beside Private Lee, speaking softly while checking his dressings. Lee had taken shrapnel to his shoulder during our retreat. The young Korean soldier nodded at whatever Anderson was saying, even managing a small smile.
Next, Anderson moved to one of his own men, a corporal whose name I didn't know.
The American was badly wounded, his breathing labored. Anderson sat with him longer, holding his hand, his expression grave but gentle. When he finally stood, his eyes were damp. Throughout the night, Anderson continued his rounds. American, Korean, it made no difference to him. He spoke to each man, adjusted blankets, offered water, checked bandages. Even when a lieutenant tried to relieve him, Anderson shook his head and continued.
Why does he push himself so hard? I asked Lieutenant Park,
who lay on a stretcher beside mine. For the same reason you do, Park replied simply. I watched Anderson gently wipe the fevered brow of Corporal Shin, who had taken a bullet to the chest. The tenderness in his movements wasn't that of a man fulfilling an obligation, it was genuine care. The realization struck me with unexpected force. Anderson wasn't here for politics or glory. He was here because he believed in something larger than himself. Maybe not Korea specifically, but the idea that people deserve to live free from oppression to determine their own fate. Perhaps we weren't so different after all. Morning brought the sounds of helicopters' evacuation for the seriously wounded. I insisted on staying with my unit despite the medic's protests. My leg was bandaged tightly, and I could hobble with a makeshift crutch. Anderson approached as I sat cleaning my sederm. His face was etched with fatigue, dark circles under his eyes testifying to his sleepless night. I expected him to order me onto one of the helicopters. Instead, he simply asked, "How's the leg?" "I'll live," I replied. Then, meeting his eyes directly for the first time, I added, "Thanks to you." A moment of understanding passed between us. No flowery words of gratitude needed. No dramatic declarations. Just a nod soldier to soldier that said everything. After that day, something fundamental changed. During strategy meetings, Anderson sought my opinion, and I found myself freely giving it. When disagreements arose between our men, we settled them together, presenting a unified front. 2 weeks later, we were pinned down in a village near Wagwan. Low on ammunition, communications cut off. Anderson and I huddled behind a crumbling wall, mapping out an escape route. "Your men take the eastern approach," he said. "Mine will provide covering fire from the bell tower."
Too exposed, I countered.
We go together, in smaller mixed groups. Korean Pathfinders, American firepower.
Anderson considered, then nodded.
Better plan. The maneuver worked flawlessly. By nightfall, every man had made it safely back to base. As we sat sharing a rare bottle of whiskey, Anderson raised his cup. "To brothers in arms," he said simply. I raised mine in return. The war hadn't changed. We were still fighting the same enemy on the same bloody ground. But something else had changed, something more important than the boundaries drawn on maps by politicians. We had found something beyond nationality, beyond prejudice, beyond the bitter divisions of war. We had found brotherhood. Arlington Cemetery, 1975. 22 years since Korea. The American Capitol gleamed in the distance as I stood before the white marble headstone. Captain John Anderson, killed in action near Heartbreak Ridge, October 1952. I had returned to South Korea after his death, finished the war, and helped rebuild my country, always carrying the memory of the man who had changed me. My hair had grayed, my legs still ached in cold weather, but I had finally made this journey. With trembling hands, I placed a single letter on his grave. The paper contained only a few lines. "I once saw you as an outsider, but you were my brother. You saved me, not just from death, but from my own blindness. The world we fought for now exists because of men like you. Thank you, my friend." I stood at attention and offered one final salute. Some bonds, I had learned, transcend both borders and time. Some debts can never be repaid. But some stories must be remembered, even when their heroes are gone. In the quiet of Arlington, surrounded by countless markers of sacrifice, I finally understood that true courage isn't about dying for your country, it's about living for something greater than yourself. Anderson had taught me that. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.